But I can tell you my family. I'm not saying the Vietnam War was a just war. It was not a just war. But I can tell you the riots on college campuses, the riots at the Chicago Convention in '68, all of those things moved my family from being Democrats their entire life to being Republicans. I remember I was young, and I remember my parents asking, what in the world is going on in this country? And of course, you know, they were raised in the Great Depression in rural Georgia. Kind of hard for them to hear rich kids on campus of Harvard or taking over campuses at Columbia. But if you're offended by this, please, I'm trying to help you. I don't want Donald Trump to get elected, all right?
There you go.
Trying to help you. If you're too stupid to figure that out, you change to another channel. Because we're sorting through this as a country, and this is not helping. This is not helping the people of Gaza, and this is not helping those of us who want to fight fascism in America. But Richard, you remember '68? It was a tidal wave. There's a reason that Reagan won with a lot of young voters in 1980. There's a reason the Reagan Revolution took place. The seeds were planted in 1968. And again, when I say that, I'm not saying that the Vietnam War wasn't an unjust war. It was. I'm saying there are ways, as the Rev has proven. It's been proved in Vieques, as Martin Luther King has proven, as others have proven. There are ways to do this that helps the cause without hurting, without aiding the worst elements in American politics.
There you go, gang. There you go. The ultra leftists over at MSNBC are admitting that the campus chaos that's infected cultural Marxist institutions across the country are on track to destroying Biden and the Democrats in November. Did you hear Scarborough? I'm trying to stop fascism. We're trying to stop the rise of Donald Trump and fascism in America. Hey, Joe, lean forward. You know, we all know you're not the brightest bulb in the box, but Joe, seriously, who the hell is openly locking Jews out of college campuses? Is it Trump? Is that where fascism is to be found? Dude, it's your ilk. It's your ideological ilk that are explicitly threatening Jews. Ronald Reagan said that in the 1970s. If fascism ever made its way into the United States, it would come through the left-wing liberal. It's not Trump, dude. Sorry. I mean, talk about self-unaware. Even CNN, by the way, is admitting that, which I'm going to show you in a mere moment. Gang, make no mistake, Joe Biden's world is collapsing. Joe Scarborough doesn't know what sense to make of it, but Joe Biden's world, the world of his own making, the world of the Democrats making, is literally unraveling and falling apart right before the world's very eyes. And like Humpty Dumpty, there is nothing any of them can do to put it back together. But first, gang, our good friend Mike Lindell needs your help. Mike is one of the strongest patriots working tirelessly for the America First and MAGA movements in this country, and also happens to be a very close friend to this channel, as you know. From election integrity to protecting American businesses, Mike really does it all. And now, as the cabal of deep state lawyers and election machine companies are trying to take Mike down with frivolous lawsuits, he needs your support more than ever. Mike recently said he was going to fight every lawsuit until he wins and will never settle out of court with people who help rig the election. So with this in mind, I want to remind you about the incredible MyPillow deals
Mike is offering with my promo code Turley. Now, if you just click on the link in my description below, you can save well over 60% on all sorts of incredible MyPillow products. Of course, Mike is offering huge savings on the new and improved MyPillow 2.0. But gang, I would also recommend hugely Mike's My Slippers, as well as his amazingly comfortable bed sheets. These are some of the comfiest slippers and sheets I've ever owned. In fact, I would use that word to describe all of MyPillow's products. Comfy to the maximum. So don't wait, gang. Support Mike as he fights for election integrity and gets some extremely comfy things to boot. It's a win-win. Don't wait. Click on that link below or go to mypillow.com/Turley right now.
The day after Biden's hopefully last State of the Union speech several weeks back, I made the argument that the speech overall had an end of empire vibe to it. The speech came across as really nothing more than the delirious rantings of a world leader cluelessly staring into the sunset of his empire. What I saw in that feeble, frail, ailing, sickly delivery, that squinty-eyed delirium, was nothing less than a symbol of a dying, decaying world, the world of liberal globalism. And in its dementia-riddled delivery, the speech really was an hour-long delusional rant that failed to come to terms with its own impending mortality. I think we are today seeing explicitly that empire shattering all around us. That empire, that modernist globalist empire, run by both establishment Democrats and establishment Republicans, by the way, the uniparty elite, right? Or what Marjorie Taylor Greene calls the MAGA party, the Make Ukraine Great Again party. That empire over which that party presides is shattering. And it is literally shattering right before everyone's eyes. It's literally falling apart all around us. Now, Larry Schweikert had a brilliant analogy here, very humorous and brilliant analogy. He argued that the Biden administration is playing in their day-to-day endeavors. They've basically been reduced to playing whack-a-mole with his policies. Right. So, right. You know what we're talking about, whack-a-mole, right? Where you have to try to smack down a mole, popping its head up. And every time you whack it, another mole pops its head up. Right. This, according to Larry Schweikert, is basically what the Biden administration has been reduced to doing. His administration is busy 24/7 trying to smack down one policy screw up after another. It doesn't matter what they smack down. Whatever they smack one policy favor down or try to, another one pops up somewhere else. They smack that down, another one pops up somewhere else. This is the unraveling of Biden's world, his liberal globalist world. So let me show you that whack-a-mole of Biden's world. Let's start, of course, with the chaos that's broken out on our college campuses across the nation. Over the last 2 weeks, there have been thousands of arrests when riot police have had to clash with violent far leftist protesters who are rabidly frothing at the mouth over Gaza and who could care less about the opioid crisis happening down the street from them. They are frothing at the mouth over how the borders of Gaza have been violated, but they could care less about what's happening at our southern border. Now, if you want to know why, it's a phenomenon technically known as ecophobia, which is a hatred of one's own, right? It comes from two Greek words, the word ekos, which means home or house, and phobia, which, of course, means fear or aversion. And ecophobia is the aversion or the hatred of our own Western culture, our own Western civilization. It's a bizarre and unique inclination and disposition that has overwhelmed the cultural elite of the West today. No other people have this. I spend lots of time in Japan. Japanese don't have ecophobia. I've been to Italy. Italians don't have ecophobia. I've been to Finland. Finns don't have ecophobia. And we could go on and on and on. I mean, I've been to Brazil. I've been all over the world. And people, nowhere else will you see another population have the kind of ecophobia that our cultural elite have. Not our America, not true American citizens. No, they love our country. They love Western culture. It's our cultural elite that has this, I would argue, actually very demonic ecophobia. The hatred of one's own is actually a key characteristic of a theology of demons. But nevertheless, this is precisely what these cultural Marxist professors and administrators have been fomenting and cultivating in these students for years now. And so in many ways, I see the faculty and administration as the real agitators here on the college campuses. The students are just mindless guinea pigs. They're just zombies, moral zombies. They're being shaped by the real enemies here, which are faculty members and administrators. I know. I was on the college campus for 20 years. But regardless, we talked about this on yesterday's video. There are a myriad of reports coming out that Democrat operatives are absolutely openly now panicking about the effect these pro-Palestinian protests are having on their prospects for the November election. And for very, very good reason, by the way. Let's make sure we understand. Again, we talked about this yesterday, but let's make sure we understand the two dynamics that are happening here. And we're going to understand this in a way that congressional Republicans, feckless congressional Republicans, simply don't understand, okay? So let's make sure we lead the way for these Mike Johnson idiots who have no clue how to read a room, a national room here, okay? There were two dynamics that are coming out of this out of this campus cultural chaos, all right? First, there's the culture war between pro-Palestinian progressives and pro-Israeli liberals. Now, we've been tracking with this culture war, this literal civil war that's broken out on the political left ever since the horrific massacre of October 7th. The left is basically splitting apart due to its own culture war, a war that is erupted between pro-Palestinian progressives on the one hand and pro-Israeli liberals on the other. So they're basically tearing each other apart, right? So that's one major dynamic that's happening here. The other major dynamic, and this is the one that Joe Scarborough is freaking out over, is the vast majority of the American people don't see a culture war. They're not taking a pro-Palestinian side or pro-Israeli side per se. They're not seeing a culture war on our college campuses. They're seeing the violent takeover of our educational institutions by a radical leftist mob or radical leftist mobs. You have the total breakdown of law and order and the violent takeover of our educational institutions by radical leftists. This is what the feckless, idiotic, clueless congressional Republicans simply don't get. They are so incapable of reading the room of their own constituency. They're so freaking devoted. Our congressional Republicans, our elite establishment rhino Republicans are so devoted to the uniparty and its futile attempt at trying to hold on to the dying, fading unipolar world that Biden's State of the Union speech deliriously celebrated. They are so drunk with that intoxication that the Republicans actually passed that monstrosity of a bill the other day, that Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, or whatever the hell, that, by the way, many are saying would inadvertently affect, it would inadvertently ban parts of the New Testament, okay? But what these feckless, clueless congressional Republicans don't get is they are inserting themselves in the left's civil war. They are inserting themselves with this with this Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, which was, by the way, co-authored by Tim Scott, the senator. We do not want him as VP by any stretch of the imagination. He's about as rhino as an establishment as they get. But regardless, again, is they're inserting themselves into the one of the dynamics that's happening, one of the two dynamics that's happening on these college campuses. And it's the one they don't want to insert in because it's the one that's destroying the left. The other one is what Donald Trump gets. It's what the vast majority of the nation is seeing on these, in terms of these campus protests. They're not seeing a culture war. They're seeing a violent takeover of our institutions by radical leftists and a resulting total breakdown in law and order. And Trump is coming out and saying, go ahead and crush these radicals. That's exactly what Nixon said in 68. I mean, who needs Democrats when you have such idiot congressional Republicans? That's the two dynamics that are both working together to crush the Democrats right now. Their own civil war, their own culture war between progressive pro-Palestinians and liberal pro-Israelis on the one hand, and the total breakdown of law and order in the violent capture of our institutions of higher learning by radical leftists on the other. It's that latter one that the vast majority of the country sees, and that's the one that Trump is seizing on. And that, of course, as you heard Scarborough panicking there, that promises, that latter one, the breakdown of law and order and this violent radical leftist takeover, that promises to reconstitute the very historical conditions that led to the Republican takeover of the White House for 5 election cycles starting in 68, right? With a single reprieve with Carter in 76. From 68 to 92, you had, and then 80 to 88, you had some of the biggest landslide wins we had ever seen, electorally speaking. We had total Republican electoral dominance of the White House. That's what Scarborough is freaking out over with these college protests. Yo, Mike Johnson, get an effing clue. Get an effing clue. Congressional Republicans, when your enemy is destroying themselves, stay the hell out. Leave them alone. Let them do it. You idiots. I mean, they are idiots. I just don't even know. Have you seen the polls? Trump is basically 10 points ahead of any down ticket Republican right now because congressional Republicans suck. And then that leads to the next whack-a-mole. Not only is Biden seeing his own leftist coalition unraveling, he's now even losing the legacy media. So you can see the whack-a-mole here, right? They're doing whatever they can to quell the college chaos, but then all of a sudden, the legacy media pops up and turns against you. So now you're having to try to quell that. You know things are bad. You know things are bad when even CNN turns against. Here's Dana Bash comparing, Joe Scarborough could get a lesson from this. Here's Dana Bash comparing the growing anti-Semitism on college campuses to Germany in the 1930s. You can't make this stuff up.
Protesting the way the Israeli government, the Israeli prime minister is prosecuting the retaliatory war against Hamas is one thing. Making Jewish students feel unsafe at their own schools is unacceptable, and it is happening way too much right now.
I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school, and they're not letting me walk in. My class is over there. I want to use that entrance. Why can't they go? Will you let me go in? This can be over in a second. Just let me and my friends go in.
Again, what you just saw is 2024 in Los Angeles, harkening back to the 1930s in Europe. And I do not say that lightly. The fear among Jews in this country is palpable right now.
So there you have it. That's CNN. Gang, I want to repeat. That was CNN sounding the alarm that what's happening on college campuses at the behest of radical leftists is akin to Nazis in Germany in the 1930s. But it's not just CNN. If you thought the comparison to Nazi Germany was out of line, take a listen at what Al Sharpton compared the protesters to on MSNBC of all places. Check it out.
How do the Democrats, how do all of us on that side say January 6th was wrong if you can have the same pictures going on college campuses?
Good Lord, don't make a parallel with January 6th.
You lose the moral high ground.
That has happened, though.
Okay,
that has
just
happened.
So we know what's going on here.
Good Lord. Good Lord. Oh, no. Make any comparison you want. Don't compare this to January 6th. No. You can not to anything. Pearl Harbor, Nazi Germany, 9/11, Mike Dukakis. I mean, anything but January 6th. No, that's the single worst day in the history of humanity. No. You can't compare anything to that. That's freaking Mika Brzezinski, the clown. Mika Brzezinski on Morning Joe having a meltdown over Al Sharpton of all people. Al freaking Sharpton, the Rev, as Joe Scarborough calls him, comparing what's happening on our college campuses today to January 6th. So Biden has now officially lost the media. The legacy media is recognizing that these protests are risking everything. They are risking bringing down the whole power structure of the regime by putting Trump back in the White House.